Okay, hi everybody. Please send a thumbs up if you can hear us. Are we there? Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. So it's exactly 3:02 GMT plus one, and I would suggest that we take about 3 minutes so that we can wait for some attendees to join us. If you are in agreement, please send a thumbs up as well. Nobody's sending it. Okay, thank you so much. So we'll just wait for 3 minutes, then we begin. Thank you for the music.
African is a foreigner in other African country. No African should ever die in search of decent life in Africa. This is our home, so now we get some more. Let Africa be free for its people. Yeah, we wanna be free in our motherland. Break all the barriers, yeah. And the boundaries holding us apart, Africa must unite, yeah. Unite or we perish, yeah. Aye, Mama Africa, Africa muye. Aye, Mama Africa, now you want we get. Break down the borders, let us live together. We are one family, united forever. Mama Africa, Africa for Africans. For equality and growth in our continent, Africa. We don't need borders. For inclusiveness and sustainability, yeah. Break all the borders. For meaningful contribution in creating the Africa we want. We don't need borders. To iron out our differences as a family, yeah. Break all the borders. Africa for all Africa. Aye, Mama Africa. Africa, yeah. Madam Mama Africa.
Thank you so much for the music. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Felicity Asibi Aqua, and I am the interim secretary of ACAN, the African Creative Action Network. And today we're here to celebrate the Women's Month, and we're doing that through the webinar, Women in Creative Activism, Using Arts to Champion Gender Justice. Oh, Ngozi is here. Ngozi, you're welcome. Can you please turn on your video and Tenny as well? Thank you so much. So as we would always say, please, as we proceed.
My video for now.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you so much. So before we proceed into the webinar, just some ground rules. We should all mute our mics And if we want to speak, we should use the raised hand feature so that we can appropriately be selected to speak. Then in the chat box, please let us know where you are joining from, your name, what you do, and what country you're joining us from. So thank you so much for joining us today. As I said earlier, we are celebrating the women in our midst this month, and both our speakers are women in creative activism, and we'll be hearing a lot from their journey, the challenges they have faced, the projects they've done, and how they're contributing to a gender just Africa. And I want to say thank you to Africans Rising for providing their platform for us to use as well. I don't know if El Hassan is on the call. He is the coordinator of the ACAM, and I would have loved him to give like a welcoming speech, but I think he'll join us soon. So before we dive right into the questions and answers, today we have two wonderful women who are joining us as speakers. And the first person here is Teniola Nafisat Balogun. Teniola is a writer, poet, and sports enthusiast whose works have been featured in several literary magazines, including Wingless Dreamer and The Bridge Writers. She has made history as the first female sports director of the Student Union government at Bayero University, Kano, BUK, and was the pioneer lead representative of the Poets in Nigeria pin in BUK. Tenny is passionate about gender advocacy and driving inclusion through sports and art. She organized BUK's first para sports competition, and as a campus ambassador for gender justice program, led a student intervention that used sports to promote a safer and more inclusive campus environment. She has also spoken at several public policy forums championing youth inclusion and gender justice. She currently serves as program officer at NAF Foundation for Young Women, where she supports initiatives that empower young women through mentorship and policy advocacy. Tenny is also the moderator of Pin Connect Center's Poets in Nigeria initiative. Please let us put our hands together as we welcome Tenny. Okay, I can't see your hands clapping. Let us welcome Tenny. Thank you so much, Tenny, for joining us today. And the next speaker we have is Ngozi Juliet Omenyima. She is a poet, facilitator, and human rights advocate working in queer activism, community mobilization, and gender-based violence response. As a comms lead and community mobilizer, she uses storytelling, poetry, and campaigns to advocate for healing, visibility, and empowerment of underrepresented communities. Please let's put our hands together as we welcome Ngozi Juliet. Thank you so much for your applauses. So, to dive right in, let's start with Juliet. Juliet, just tell us, let's hear from your own mouth. What is one interesting thing about yourself and the work that you do?
Hello, thank you so much. One thing about me is that I believe that every woman has the right to choose whatever she wants to be and to choose the life that she feels she deserves in any setting at all. So that's one interesting thing about me, and that's my belief. And yeah, so far it's been working for me. It's been like a bedrock of my beliefs in my activism and advocacy. Yeah, thank you. can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you while we are waiting for Felicity to join back. She just left. So maybe you can continue. Yes, she's here.
Okay, no. Okay.
Felicity, can you hear us? She's not talking. So, Ngozi, I was suggesting that maybe you can continue more to respond to that question.
I have already responded to that. I said one thing about me is that I believe that every woman has the right to choose the kind of life she wants to live at any point in time, as far as it suits her and it doesn't harm anyone.
Thank you for that. And Tenyola, do you want to respond to the same question?
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Balogun Teniola. I'm so sorry, I had to turn off my camera because the bandwidth here is actually very low. So yeah, one thing about me is that I am a poet, a spoken word artist, and a sports enthusiast. And I am passionate about using sports, using art, and that includes sports because I believe sports is also an art unless you're a Manchester United fan or player. So I believe that art is an important driver when it comes to promoting social change. Thank you.
Thank you both. I think the moderator just dropped off, so maybe we can just give her a minute to join back.
One family united forever. Aye, Mama Africa, Africa for Africans. We want Africa without borders. Hey, yeah. Motherless Africa, Africa rising says. Let our people move, remove visa restrictions. Free movement of Africans in Africa. Ooh, borderless Africa. We want a borderless Africa. Hey, mama.
Welcome back. We can hear you now.
Thank you so much. No, what happened? I'm so sorry. But can you see me though?
Yeah, we can see you.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, everybody. I don't know what happened. I think it was the network. I was speaking here and I couldn't hear anyone speak back at me. So thank you so much. So Ngozi, please, if you don't mind, I would love that you repeat what you were saying. I'm so sorry that the call went off when you were speaking. Yes, please go ahead.
Hello. Okay. I said one thing about me is that I believe that women possess equal rights, to choose the kind of life they want to live, the kind of opportunities they desire, the kind of outcomes that they want, notwithstanding age, notwithstanding size, notwithstanding anything, any physical attribute. So I believe in equal rights when it comes to women. That's one interesting fact about me. And it has always guided my decisions, it has always guided my actions, and my overall performance in some aspects. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. So yes, Steady, please go ahead. What's one interesting fact about you and the work that you do?
Oh, okay. So I mentioned earlier that I am passionate about art, and that includes sports. I believe that sports is an art, and I believe that art is very important when it comes to driving social change. So I'm passionate about using art for. I'm passionate about using art to drive social change. Thank you.
Amazing. So would pick it up from you. How did you first get involved in using art for gender justice, and what drives your passion for this work?
Okay, so for me, it was, I mean, I've always been passionate. To put into context, I am a poet, in the last few years, I also picked up spoken word poetry. So before I got into activism, or art for social change, I I was really into the works of Neo Shundari and Edgar Allan Poe. There was a time I was in my emo era, so yeah, you could understand why I love Edgar Allan Poe, who is someone who likes to write about tales of macabre, gothic, and things
Exactly.
like that. So one time while I was in school, I think I was like in my 200 level or so. It's not too far back. I had an opportunity to perform a piece around gender-based violence on campus. And for me, it was unfamiliar terrain. So what I had to do was I had to sit back and, make, and it wasn't like I was uninformed. I just wasn't paying enough attention towards that, right? And I think most of us are guilty of that, and many of us are guilty of that. It's not like we're unaware of these things. Sometimes we don't just pay enough attention. So I think because of that opportunity to perform that to work on that piece, I had to get myself properly informed and become more aware of the growing issues around gender-based violence. I had conversations with classmates, I had conversations with people around me, did my own research, and I realized how important that thing I haven't been paying attention to was. And the numbers, the statistics were appalling. And so, and ever since then and ever since then I just thought, now this is the part where I now bring attention and create bring attention to that thing that people don't pay attention to, that thing that I used to not pay attention to, and use my creativity to make sure people are aware of these issues.
Amazing. Amazing. We really thank whomsoever it is that had got you to write that piece. So yes, Ngozi, how did you first get involved in using art for gender justice, and what drives your passion for the work? Ngozi, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So as a young queer Nigerian, it came to my notice that most of the times we are not free enough to, tell our stories, report incidents, mostly the cases of gender-based violence. And I got to see a lot of young girls, a lot of women around me go through things, and they are not able to be, vocal enough to talk about things that they experience. They bottle it all up inside of them. Sometimes this leads to depression, leads to, anxiety anxiety and other forms of mental health issues. So I discovered that, so from my own experience, I discovered that when I write poems, I'm able to, relay my feelings, relay what my emotions, tell my story in such a way that someone out there who do not read the poem won't understand, what the message I'm trying to put out there. So it's, and after writing poems, after telling my story through poems, I discovered this sense of, comfort, a kind of healing that comes with writing, putting my emotions, putting my feelings, putting my experiences in writing. And I know that right and along the line, I discovered I can, talk about patriarchy using poetry without just coming out, bringing out headlines and shouting, "Let's end patriarchy, let's say no to patriarchy," bringing out the placards and all that. I discovered that I could use poems, storytelling to, disrupt uh, some harmful stereotypes. This is what it's expected of a woman. This is what is expected of you as so person. This is what you are supposed to do. This is how you are supposed to do it. We have this programming as Africans right from birth. Once we come into this, we have this programming that our parents do give us, to guide us as we grow up and to make sure that we move in a particular direction. So I started using, storytelling, poems, and as a community mobilizer, it was a bit easier for me. I started as a poet because of the way I was using my poems for advocacy, for activism. I went in fully to become a community member, a community mobilizer, and
Mobilizer.
that,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, proceed.
Okay, and that gave me grounds to, put more passion, put more efforts into using poetry as a tool for healing, for
Amazing.
resistance, for
Amazing.
progress. That has, shaped my journey so far, and that is how I arrived here at this spot that I am in now. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so amazing to hear all your like personal stories, and it just goes to show how the experience of one person can be used to to reach out to other people. Most times when we're going through stuff, we most times think that we're going through it alone, but then when we speak out, we are overwhelmed by the number of people who are actually going through that same thing. So thank you so much. I'm really excited about the work that you all are doing. We'll get to the part where you share your handles and all of that so that the network can also go and see the good work that you're doing. So as Ngozi was speaking, I think that you have answered like part of the next question that I was going to ask you. How do you believe that art can be a catalyst for gender equality, and what role do you see it play in the future? So the first question is, how do you believe that art, especially like poetry and storytelling that you do, can be a catalyst for gender equality and gender justice, and what role do you see it play in the future? So Ngozi, you can go before then we have Temi.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to look at it from an intersection of gender, class, and race. Because of gender, because of class, because of race, there are so many injustices surrounding this, forming this intersection. So I believe that using storytelling and poetry to address these injustices that arise as a result of the intersection of class. This is not where you're supposed to be. You are not supposed to be here with us and all that. Of gender and of race. And when we talk about race, we not talk about African women. You know how it is for African women when it comes to injustices. just the issue of gender. A woman is supposed to do this. A woman is not supposed to talk when men are talking. A woman is supposed to face her duties in the kitchen. A woman is not supposed to, have opinions about how the home is run and all that. So that is one. Then looking at using poetry to rewrite all these traditional narratives that disempower women. So when I use poetry to rewrite all those traditional narratives, that those narratives, in the real sense of it, it doesn't empower women at all. So poetry is like a tool, a very important tool to rewrite the narratives. And when I'm rewriting these narratives, I am empowering myself as a woman, and then I'm empowering other women, those who can relate to my experiences and the experiences of anybody out there that I write about. You know, I don't know if we've gotten to, let me not answer much, but then I believe that women, people, humans relate more to experiences of others. And most times they use it as a guiding tool. They use it as in law we call it judicial precedents, to determine or to predict the outcome of actions and inactions. So for me, that is it for me. Let me stop here, please.
Thank you so much. I just saw the message for interpretation. Africans Rising Tech, are you there? Sorry, Tenny will get to you. Tech, are you there?
Felicity, I'm here.
Okay, yes. Oh, amazing. You're welcome. I didn't know you were on the call. So, someone is just raised the
Oh,
concern.
asking about, yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we tried to have it, but it was a bit very last minute, and we could not get the people on board. So I would just
Oh,
like to apologize. Je vois il y a nos camarades qui parlent le français. Je suis vraiment désolée parce qu'on devait avoir les interprétations, mais finalement, on n'a pas euh, pu avoir ça. Donc, peut-être à la prochaine, on va faire tout l'effort pour assurer qu'il y aura ça. Voilà. Merci beaucoup. OK, over to you, Felicity.
so yes, merci beaucoup too. Thank you so much for coming to the rescue. That was Ansel. She's part of the Africans Rising team, and they are our mother organization. So maybe later in the webinar she would also speak. Thank you so much. So yes, Tenny, we have heard from the experiences of Ngozi, but we also want to hear from you. How do you believe art can be a catalyst for gender justice, and what role do you see it play in the future, especially within? I mean, you can also give like a broader context, um, apart from what you are doing. If you have any insights on a broader level, I think would also appreciate to get some insights as regards that.
Okay, great. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can. If it is possible, we want to see you clearly too.
Oh, okay. So my bandwidth, I apologized earlier for turning off my camera because
Oh,
my bandwidth is quite low. We're in Nigeria,
oh,
so you know how it is.
yes.
Okay, so Ngozi did say a lot of things, and I agree with a lot of what she said. So one of the things that make art such, a good catalyst for social change, and that includes gender equality or gender justice, as you put it, is because it makes injustice visible, right? And it also makes it feel personal. Now, I'm someone who works in the CSO space, and I'm also an activist. So I am kind of sitting at the intersection of both. And I can tell you that data can tell you that inequality exists. There's a lot people put into, policies. You read them, sometimes they are long and boring. But the thing with art is that it makes you sit down and, question it. And sometimes you even see yourself in it. And it is when it the thing about art is that it evokes emotion, and it is that emotional shift that brings about, real change. And let me use this example. I don't know if we all remember this Beyonce song, was it Flawless, where Chimamanda where she sampled Chimamanda's feminist speech. This Flawless. Okay, I'm not a very good singer, and that is why we do poetry over here. So this Beyonce song where you wake up flawless, post up flawless. You understand? My diamond. I told you guys I'm not a very good singer. But the thing is that in that song, you know, that song, she sampled Chimamanda's I think feminist speech where Chimamanda was saying something around, we teach women to shrink themselves, and I can't really remember the topic. I mean the title of that speech. And what happened then was that it turned into, a cultural movement, because suddenly feminism wasn't confined to books or conferences, right? It was in clubs. That song was being played in clubs, in cars, everywhere you go to, because Beyonce is a global icon, right? So, and that is something that art does. It carries, your ideas into places that policies on papers cannot reach. And that is just the truth. And take it from someone who is at the intersection of art and, policy writing. And another thing with art is that it helps you reclaim space. I was reading a report on this thing that was carried out last year with Ford Foundation, where they talked about using art to champion gender justice. And one of the survivors of SGBV said, I'm not quoting her word for word, but she said something around art giving her back her voice. So because for a long time, people's stories have either been silenced or told through someone else's lens. So it allows people to be able to, author their own narratives. And what makes art again so powerful for gender equality is that it does not always confront, right? Because it is when you start having confrontations, that is when people become defensive. So say, for example, instead of coming out to say, what you people are doing to girls here is not good, and then, they want to start bringing a long narrative of how it has been in their culture or something. Imagine having a visual art like, a spoken word performance or a theater around why this particular issue is wrong. Now, that kind of thing now would disarm people who might otherwise be defensive, and slowly shift perspectives without even them realizing it. And that how do they call it, subtlety is powerful. So, and you also say asked how art can shape gender justice in the future, or what was that second part of the question?
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay, yeah, I think it is going to play even a more dynamic role, because art is going to always be participatory and even more digital. And today we're in the digital era, and I don't think technology is going anywhere anytime soon. I think now we artists too should start, seeking for our own viral moments. So, but I think one of the things also that we should be looking out to in the future when it comes to activism is co-creation, right? Not just art for, communities, but to have art with them, and for creatives to also, start to have for creatives to start to, collaborate, right? I think in the future we're going to see, more visual artists collaborating with maybe spoken word artists. We would see painters and poets, working together to promote social change.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this this great insight. I love the stuff you said about how art makes injustice visible, and with the example you had given about how probably an issue on gender-based violence is dramatized. People will not even know when the message hits them, right? Until they're already knee deep into like the performance and all of that. And art has like an immense uh, importance in the society that we're in today, especially even for us in Nigeria. We know what happened, how art was used in the 2020 what now? The protest, right? The role art played in that protest in 2020. So thank you so much for those insights. So yes, let's get to Ngozi again. I know that part of the things you have also outlined from the previous question are some of the challenges you've faced, but I would want you to also like elaborate on that. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in using your art for gender justice, and how did you overcome them in the past? How are you overcoming them now?
Thank you, Felicity. Can you ask the question again? I didn't quite get that.
Okay, I was saying that what are some of the challenges that you faced using your art to champion gender justice, and how have you, overcome them in the past, and how are you even overcoming them now?
Okay, thank you. So, there are a lot of challenges. Once, uh, as a female, as an activist, activist, and as a mobilizer, as a feminist, there are a lot of challenges. One is the right platform. And when I'm talking about the right platform, I also, what comes to mind is safe spaces. Uh, Sometimes, write-ups can get the attention of some group of persons, anti-rights groups, homophobic individuals, even the government, because there was a time we had a project that involved using poetry as an art to di- uh, 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 to address uh, the the government and on implementation of some policies they've laid out there for us as citizens of the country. No, it wasn't just a gender thing. It was a general thing, but it affected women and girls the most. So it's a moment where we have to be careful. We have to check the words that we use. We had to know the right place and platforms to put it on, because there is I think there are features on the digital space in the cyber world where they can report a page, and the necessary persons there can take it down and all that. So it was
Exactly.
a challenge. Yeah, it was a challenge for us. So we just had to use words that wouldn't be easily flagged, uh culture the way we put out our messages and all that, then know the necessary bodies to tag. So all these things are, it might seem funny, but they are real life challenges. And then the issue of funding, that is a big issue when it comes to using art as a tool to, to defend, to speak up, to
Champion.
advocate, yeah, to champion gender justice and all that. It's quite difficult because by the time you get involved, sometimes because of shadow banning by all these applications and these platforms, we have to boost the either the page or the post, and it requires money to do so. So funding is an issue. It's a big challenge. It has always been a challenge, you know. Then when it comes to physical projects, like we have some projects and that provide safe spaces to for women to come and talk about gender justice, or to use arts, to further gender justice and all that. So to advocate for gender justice. So all those platforms require um, safety, it requires funding, it requires collaborations in some aspects, getting in touch with human rights organizations, getting in touch with maybe state actors in some cases to prevent some kind of things. So all these things are like challenges we face, as activists, to be able to use our art to preach for the change that we desire. And sometimes we face issues of safety and security issues. Once they discover that you are an activist or you're a poet that uses your poem to, call people out, to address gender justice and all that, if they target you, that means you are in danger. And you have to watch your back. You have to, be careful of the sites, the links and everything that you click and all that. So these are challenges. And they are real life challenges, things that we face every single day. So so far I have learned to limit my art, yes, limit my art to some safe spaces, especially for the uh, audience that I advocate mainly for, queer women, LBQ women. It's a crime. We have the SSMPA law against that. We have so many laws, Sharia laws and all that. So it's not always safe to use the words that we are expected to use. Sometimes we use I know we have poetic, is it poetic justice? Ability, the right to use any words we want to use in the course of our art. But then I have learned to use mild words. I have learned to, tune it down when necessary. I have learned to not to be too confrontational when it comes to addressing gender justice and it involves the government. I have learned not to be too confrontational. I have learned to sometimes limit the kind of information I'm letting out there. Then for when it comes to spaces where I am invited to speak or to use art, for to create a sense of belonging, a sense of community among women, survivors of gender-based violence and the rest, I tend to ensure that those spaces are very safe and secure before embarking on any project or any facilitation or whatever I'm being called upon to do. So these are like measures I've put in place to ensure that these challenges don't overwhelm me completely and I'm able to deliver my art to out there for women. Yes, we are uh, we are human beings and every woman deserves empowerment of any sort. So yeah, that is it for me.
Thank you so much. And I reckon that, each and every one of us who is using art, even in the smallest way, encounter these challenges, whether it is funding, whether it's safe spaces, whether it's platforms, all of us go through these same challenges in several degrees. Penny, can we also hear from you? What are some of the challenges or the biggest challenges you faced in your art and how have you been able to overcome them?
All right, thank you, Felicity, and oh my God, thank you, Ngozi. Ngozi has hit the nail on the head, to be honest. I think another thing, whether it's activism or you're trying to address gender justice through maybe policy or any other means you can. There's I think there's a common challenge all of us in this space quietly experience, and that is, the tension between being heard and being accepted. You see, gender justice by its nature can make people uncomfortable. The moment you want to start talking about women's participation in politics, um gender-based violence, putting more women on the table, you are beginning to challenge people's identities and beliefs. Do you understand? And that would always create some kind of resistance. And I think, there are moments when your audience would begin to disengage. It's not because they don't understand what you're saying, It's because the message feels too confrontational, as Ngozi had said, or too far removed from their reality. So one thing I've learned is that pushing too hard without building a bridge can shut people down. And that is somewhere I had to grow, learning how to invite people into the conversation rather than corner them with it. Um, it's the difference between saying this is the problem and trying to create something that allows them to see themselves within the problem. I think that shift changes everything. And one example was, my first time trying to use poetry as a way of addressing gender-based violence on campus and all of that. So when I wrote the first piece, I was, very, very focused on the facts, the statistics of perpetrators at that point. I think that was around the time where was it Kiki Modi or one of these women had done this sex for grade stuff. So when I was trying to bring that into my own university at the time, it felt like, some demographic were feeling attacked, right? So yeah. So and then that was when I realized that okay, I maybe in what I was trying to do, I was being very, very, very confrontational. So I had to, learn to make them see the problem rather than make them feel like they are the problem. So yeah, so that was one thing I had to learn.
I, I mean, it's an art in itself for you to learn how to, not be that confrontational because it takes a lot. People, the moment your art leaves your own personal domain, you don't have a right on how people interpret it. So it is very important that we're even conscious about the kind of words that we use, to project our art. Thank you so much for that. And as I said earlier, like these challenges are interconnected and they affect even the least of us. And that is why it is important for us to also um, be part of a network that that encourages us. This sisterhood we have should grow beyond, just this particular webinar. I mean, when someone is down, at least you have someone who is, encouraging you and lifting you up and all of that. So it is important for us, to to look out for each other even as we use our arts for gender justice. Thank you so much for your time. If you're just joining us, I want to say that you've missed a lot. And we will take your questions in no distant time. But we have like two questions for our speakers to answer before we get into your questions. So you can drop your questions in the chat or you wait when we're during the Q&A session, then you can raise your hand. So let's see if okay, so Telly, let's just have you again. What advice would you give emerging artists who want to use their work for gender justice? We have already outlined the challenges here, and some people can be scared. You have probably scared some people right now, right? And I think one of the things that Ngozi also mentioned is security. Sometimes when you're doing these things, are people are taking note of what you're doing, and there's some sort of violence that they are preparing for you. So, can you help share an advice for emerging artists who want to use their work for gender justice but are probably scared or do not know how to go about it? Yes. So let's hear it.
Felicity, I'm also an emerging artist too. So
Ain't we all?
so you know the thing about activism is that it continues to give you purpose, right? So most often people would ask about how you balance both things. So and that when you continue to have purpose, regardless of how thunderous the road might be, because yeah, there are lots of challenges. You would have lots of ideas, but then you're not $10 child. Where's the fund going to come from? You're going to face resistance. So you also have to think about safety. I mean, while you're trying to solve other people's problem, you have to make sure that you're not putting yourself in another problem, right? So there's going to be the issue of safety. There's going to be the issue of, institutional or structural pushback. And then there's also going to be the issue of, the people you're trying to pass a message to, do they even understand you? So there are lots of problems that you're going to encounter, and that's the truth. And so that is why I would always say that no matter what, do not lose purpose, right? In a way, make sure that your activism continues to fuel your artistic expression, and your artistic expression in a way continues to I'm not sure if this is the right word to use, but maybe beautify your activism, make sure the two of them go hand in hand. That's the only thing. I think
Make it
that's
effective.
going to be, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. So, Ngozi, what advice would you give? You have outlined like a long list of terrible challenges. What advice would you give emerging artists who wants to use their arts to champion gender justice?
I listed but a few. Okay, thank you so much, Felicity. And thank you, Teniola. That was great. So, what advice? Please, in as much as we are fighting for women, we are fighting for gender justice, please do not fight the government for the sake of fighting. Please do not fight the government. Uh, it's better to focus on the people you want to advocate for. Let them learn their rights. Let them know how best to, speak up, to seek for support, to the right places to go to when it comes to uh, gender and then justice. So fighting the government or carrying placards and all that won't, sometimes it doesn't solve the problem. And using social media platforms to fight, to drag the government for no reason, no, 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 no. You have to use uh, adopt strategies on how to reach your target audience, know how to engage well with your stakeholders, know who it would be the best person to meet on any issue, rather than being so angry. They usually call feminists like us angry feminists because of the way we project ourselves out there and all that. So there are other milder ways of engaging, using art as a tool for gender justice. Using there are ways we can tell our stories, and it will touch the hearts, it will reach the right audience, it will bring the reaction and the change that we desire. Everything is not violence. Everything is not violence. So just like a woman facing gender-based violence in like domestic violence in her home, instead of fighting back, fighting the man, you can always report to the right authorities. You can always seek for people that human rights groups and all that. They will be in a better position to take you out of that situation. Or even better still, when it comes to fight or flight, please take flight. So that is it for me. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think to just put some of the things that you said in context, adopting effective strategies for activism and activism is very important. And I think that I mean the conversation we've had from the beginning till this time is what we've been saying. Not one strategy fits all. So we have to also study the context to know what kind of activism or activism would be more relevant to the issue that we're speaking to, and then collaboration over competition with the government. The truth is, when you literally fight the government, I'm not sure your activism or your activism will go that far, but you need to find, you need to adopt like very sensitive strategies that even reach out to the government so that they can be part of the fight against gender injustice and other social injustices. So yeah, thank you so much. So as we have said, you both would be sharing a poem with us at the end of the webinar, but I think it is high time that we take questions. I had seen a question earlier from. So please, if you have a question, do raise your hand, but we'll take the questions from the chat box before we get to you. I think there was a question about how, yeah. So either of you can answer, Tenny or Ngozi. What role do grassroots organizations play compared to individual artists? So the person is Lara Refat is asking, what role do grassroots organizations play I suppose, in activism and artivism compared to individual artists? Yeah, so either of you can go.
Okay.
The community, yeah, yes, please go ahead.
So when it comes to the role you said organizations, right? Grassroots
Yes, yes,
organizations play.
yes.
Okay. Okay. I, as a comms leader, as a community mobilizer, a volunteer in, for organizations, in the grassroots non-profit, uh, the role we play is that we create safe spaces for women and girls to feel free to tell their stories, to relate their experiences, to seek support, and they in turn they get guidance. They are trained on when and where to seek for help, to seek for assistance, to seek for justice, to seek for uh um uh support of any kind. So they create safe spaces. They implement projects that are targeted towards eliminating and addressing gender-based violence and upholding gender justice in all fields. So that is the role they play. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Telly, do you have anything to add, or should we move to the next question?
All right, I think we could go to the next person.
Okay, so Omalala Pedro is saying, I don't think we shouldn't fight the government. At the end of the day, structural and systemic changes come from implementation, which can only be done by the government. Even if you teach your audience everything they need to know, lack of structures will hinder results. Also, feminist actions have never been violent. Yes, and that is why we had put it in context, right? We're not saying that if there are negative laws that the government are passing out, that we shouldn't oppose them. We're saying that our advocacy or activism should not be a violent one. And again, I think that you are referring to what Ngozi had mentioned about being a feminist being violent, right? It's a thing on Twitter here in Nigeria. I don't know if you're in Nigeria, but it's a thing here in Nigeria that when a woman speaks out on gender injustice, she is labeled as a violent feminist. So those statements were actually made in context. Yes. So uh okay, so I think she's also saying that we can agree that peculiar cases require specific actions. We can't shield the government from we can't shield the government from its own ineffectiveness. Thank you so much for that contribution. Um, so there's a question here from Itati. Says, how do you find inspiration, especially with the outlined adversity? So Terry, can you answer that? How do you
Okay,
find inspiration?
I saw that question, and I think everything going on in society today is enough inspiration. I mean, one day you think, I'm tired with all the problem, and then the next morning you're waking up and then you're seeing a news about a particular place in Delta States where they have a rape festival. So tell me, how do you not get angry? How do you not pick up a pen and decide to, want to write out your frustration? Or if you're, say, a painter, how do you not want to put that on a canvas to even show what some of these women go through? You look at policies that are being made and you realize that some of these things that they say is even for women proper lacks proper gender lens, or they are not even gender responsive. And then you look at the people who are making these policies for you, and you even realize that there aren't people who look like you in the room. In Nigeria, for example, even though I know I'm speaking to a diverse audience, different people in Africa, when you look at Nigeria's Senate today, you have less than 5% women make up, the Nigeria Senate. So when they are making policies that affect women, how you realize that the people who are in there do not even understand your problems. So all of these things are inspiration enough for me, because even when you want to be quiet, you would always find a reason.
Something
You
to
would
do.
always find a reason to want to continue activism. Like, you just have to be self-aware enough, and
Mm,
that's it.
Thank you so much.
Something would
Yes,
always happen.
we're living in the world. Something will always happen every day. Yes, because please, you can go ahead.
I didn't get that question. No.
Yes, so the question is, how do you get inspired in the midst of all these challenges that we have also outlined? I think that's what the person wanted to know.
Oh, I get inspired by, you know, uh the outcome when I see the uh would I call it the outcome of gender-based violence, when I see the victims, when I see the pain, when I see the stigma, when I see the violence, the abuse, experienced by victims and survivors, by caused by injustice. When it comes to women and girls, that is what inspires me, because it could happen to my sister, it can happen to me, it can happen to my
Uh,
friend, it can happen to
exactly.
my mother.
The-
So that is it. That is it for me.
exactly. The relatability of the problem inspires you. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much, Seniola and Ngozi, for sharing with us your activism journey and all that you've been doing. Ekale, your hand is still up. Do you have a question? Okay. I I think okay, the hand
Thank you,
the hand
Felicity.
okay.
I don't
Yes,
have a
please.
question, but I joined late. Just I wanted to introduce myself. I just find myself here in
Okay.
the women's space. Yeah, but I'm also here to learn. Yeah,
Okay. Thank
I've
thank
been
you
in
so
space
much.
of fighting for justice, learning injustices.
Okay.
Thank you for the inputs. Yeah, and the
Thank you.
knowledge.
Thank you so much for all your contributions. Um so Ngozi and Tenny, are our poems ready?
Yes, I think I have one I can,
Oh,
read
share with us.
that. Okay. Um, Sorry, I can't project it. I joined the call with my phone, not my laptop, so I'll
No,
just
no, no,
read it
it's
out.
fine. You just read it out. Yeah, we'll be listening.
Okay, maybe I can share it to the group later on if need be.
That would be amazing.
Okay. All right, that's great. So this is like a call to action. So it's a bit, I wrote this in 2024 when I was pissed. Justice for the female gender. So we can't continue to pretend not to see the damage caused by badly raised men, quick to raise their hands against the female gender, most who are defenseless and at their mercy or bound by marital laws, taught silence by their mothers or the society as a means of survival, thereby creating room for madmen to capitalize on their vulnerability and snuff them out of existence. The change starts with us. We can choose to not hesitate to bring to justice perpetrators of this evil act. Let's join hands together and fight gender-based violence. So I wrote this during the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence in 2024. And a brief description. This is justice for the female gender is a powerful call to action against the enduring plague of gender-based violence. It sheds light on the silent battles faced by countless women, often bound by societal norms, familial expectations, or marital constraints. This The piece vividly portrays how societal complacency, and flawed upbringing allow the cycle of abuse to persist, turning vulnerability into a weapon used against the female gender. It challenges readers to confront the harsh reality of a culture that silences victims, urging a collective stand for justice. This work is more than a poem. It is a rallying cry to break the silence, challenge outdated norms, and hold abusers accountable. With relatable imagery and an urgent tone, it speaks to everyone, reminding us that change begins with action. So these words call for unity in the fight against gender-based violence, making it clear that justice and equality are not just ideals, but necessities for a better, safer world. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please let's put our hands together for that wonderful piece and its description. Thank you so much, Ngozi. Yes, Jenny, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can. Please proceed.
All right. So these days I'm really interested in women's participation in, leadership spaces, especially with the 2027 elections in Nigeria fast approaching. So permit me to share this piece. And apologies to Odumodu's fans in this space. If governance was music, house is like Odumodu's with repeated sound. For too long, our rhythm has been off. I mean, 4.5% isn't enough. We've been hearing the same bedu from the same people over and over again. Too many drums, not enough strings, too much noise, not enough harmony. Nigeria, your orchestra is incomplete. Because men have been playing the talking drum of politics. Women hold tambourines. They're pretty, they're decorative. We shake them when it's time to clap for someone else's victory. But we have always known music. We are the lullaby and the war cry, the deciding numbers and voices on election grounds, the anthem whispered in the market, the chorus rising from protest lines. When they say fem, we speak anyway. We, women, Nigeria, your orchestra is incomplete. When floods came, we organized. When the system failed, we improvised. We have written symphonies out of scarcity, conducted revolutions from living rooms, and have turned silence into street chants that sound like protest remixes. So, Naija, I beg, pass the mic to us, not just for backup vocals, not just to clap and shout who run the world for aesthetics, but to rewrite the score. Tell the Senate to put out that new album and give us our own part. 42% of the Billboard Hot 109 is a good start. Let us make governance sound like all of us. Nigeria, your orchestra is incomplete because a country with half of its choir silenced should not complain about discord. Thank you.
Amazing. Please let's put our hands together. And I think that goes also for Africa. Africa's orchestra is incomplete because women are still not at the fore of leadership. Thank you so much again to uh, Tenyola Nafisat Balogun, aka Tenny, and Ngozi Julieta Omenima. I'm sorry if I murdered that name, but thank you so much for giving us your time and the insights from your journey. We have learned so much from you, and we're hoping that, especially for Teniola, who is not part of the Africans Rising, that you will join the network. I also be part of the ACA network as well. So I think that you'd compulsorily join. I'd force you into joining, but I'm sure that you'd be open to joining as well. So thank you so much for your time. This moment would the as I said earlier, the coordinator for ICANN is not available to have given a welcome, but we have Axel here, who is from Africans Rising. Axel, do you have any comments, any announcements, or you just want to greet us, please? We want to hear your voice. Thank you so much. Axel, are you there?
Yeah, please come again. Sorry, I just.
Okay, yes, I said earlier we didn't have El Hassan to either welcome us or to just give an introduction as to what we're doing. So as you joined the call, we would love you to probably re-welcome us again and just tell us what Africans Rising does and if there are any other further information. Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you. I hope that you can hear me. So hi, greetings, comrades. I can try to put this on. I don't know about the. I hope the network doesn't disappoint me. Oh, okay. Is this good? Yeah. So greetings, comrades. It's very good to have you all here. And thank you so much for joining this very important call. I'm hoping that Felicity would have told us a lot about what the ACAN does for those who are joining us for the first time. But Africans Rising is a Pan-African movement of organizations and individuals working for unity, justice, peace, and dignity. And one of our core, or one of the ways that we do our work is by through artistic activism. And that is why we have groups like the ACAN, who just formed from existing Africans Rising members, but also those who use their artistic expression as a way of creating social change. So if you have joined this call today and you're not already a member of Africans Rising, please do join. I'll send a link. I can send that in the chat so that you can also join to become a member of Africans Rising. But also throughout the month of March, we have been doing a month, or we are still doing a month-long campaign, which is championing gender justice. And we decided to also have this webinar today to be able to share more about how women are using their arts to champion gender justice. So I'd like to thank those who joined us as speakers for the insightful contributions and just sharing about their own personal experiences. I think that is the sole purpose of conversations like this, not only for you to share, but also for you to serve as an inspiration to others who join such calls. So I just want to thank everyone for joining, and yes, I encourage you to keep following Africans Rising. We had Africans Rising across all social media platforms to get in touch and to know more about what is happening next, what we're doing, and how you can contribute to building the Africa that we want. So thank you, Felicity, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ansel. Thank you for the welcome and for the information session as well. So yes, as she had said, please drop the link to joining
Yes.
Africans Rising in the chat.
Sure.
So Taniola and Ngozi, the last thing we'd love to hear from you is how do we get in touch with you? What are your names on Facebook or on social media and other platforms, and how can we get through to your work? Tanya, are you there?
Okay, yes, I'm just going to share my Instagram and handle and my email in the chat box.
Okay. Amazing. Ngozi, are you still here? Okay. I can't see Ngozi here, but okay. Just a moment. Ngozi, can you hear us? Okay, I think that we'll also share their handles for as many of you who want to reach out to them. We'll share their handles on the ACAN group so that you can, reach out to them and see the kind of work they're doing and collaborate with them as well. Sincerely, I want to say thank you on behalf of ACAN and as well. Okay, Ngozi has dropped her email as well. Thank you so much on behalf of ACAN and Africans Rising for helping us celebrate the Women's Month through this webinar. And we want to thank all of you who took out your time to attend this webinar. I am hoping, and we all are hoping, that you've learned a lot. And when we do call for our next webinar, you would register and be part of it and contribute. Thank you so much again, Juliet, and Ngozi Juliet, and Teniola Nafisat, for being our wonderful speakers today. We have learned so much from you. I am wishing
Thank you.
each and every one of us, uh, and thank you, Africans Rising Tech, for helping us throughout the webinar. Yes, thank you so much. We had some technical issues at the beginning, but you was able to help. Thank you so much for being here with us as well. So, this is goodbye from me, myself, and I. Bye.